Ang video na to ay handog ni cdkoffers.com. Marami kang mahahanap na iba't ibang uri ng software dito. May games, apps, activation codes for Windows 10. Check out our video on CDK Offers in the video description. Mabilis, mura, and syempre legit dito. Madali lang mag-order, search for the software you need, add to cart, check out, daan ka sa payment options nila, wala pa isang minuto, finished. May legit working CDK ka na sa software na pinili mo. Gamitin ang aming promo code para makakuha pa ng extra 20% discount sa purchase mo. Kung naghahanap ka ng mura, legit, and original software, check out cdkoffers.com.
Alright, what's up internet? So, thanks for joining us again for another episode of Puwede Magtanong, and wala nang paligoy-ligoy pa kasi maraming tanong. First question from Angelo, and actually dalawang tanong to. Yung unang tanong, what's your recommendation to fix the infamous mechanical keyboard chattering or unwanted double, triple, quad tapping? I guess let's start with that.
Alright, who wants to go? I have an answer for that already.
Well, for me, it's just general cleaning, because a lot of times it's not gonna chatter right off the bat after you purchase it, so that could just easily be dirt. So general cleaning is taking out the keycaps one by one, going through the innards or even compressed air. That's a pricier route, but you'll really get all the dirt you can. Ayan.
Oo nga, may demo. Oo nga. Are you gonna use the, tatanggalin mo yung key?
Ito yung... Oo. Ay!
Brute force.
Sige, keep talking guys. I'll just remove it.
Actually, I'm not familiar with this problem. Ano ba yung infamous
if
double?
For instance, if you press letter D, it'll do it 3 times like that.
Right.
Double, triple presses.
It's never happened on my DAS. I'm using a DAS keyboard. Ano problema?
I would say it used to happen on my older one, 10-year-old
Mechanical?
Yeah, Razer Black Widow. Pero yeah, the newer ones I have wala naman.
Baka it's an older... baka it's an older issue.
Dirt. Usually.
They say that it usually happens more on Cherry MX keys because they're easier to press, unlike MX Blues that talagang kailangan mo itodo like mine.
Blue din sa
But it
akin.
still happens now. It still happens on Blue.
Okay.
Browns for the win.
You can... there were some remedies I saw, which was number 1, you keep pressing on it na lang. Parang
Power through the problem?
power through the problem. But that's also not recommended. The second one is compressed air. And the third one is, there's actually a software. There's a software called Keyboard Chattering Software. And then you can... It looks very technical. You just have to... you have to edit through... I don't know. Yeah, there's some numbers there. But yun nga, you're gonna go software basis na. So I guess if it always makes 3 keys, you just manually do it via the computer na single lang. Parang medyo backward eh.
Okay.
Wow, never knew.
Yeah, apparently meron.
The second... well, before we get to the second question from Angelo, Leani Mosquito says, hi RJ.
Oh, what's up, Yanni?
And the second question from Angelo is regarding the NVIDIA control panel versus NVIDIA GeForce Experience. Both offer different display settings from a single GPU. So, his question is, ano ba talaga yung nagagamit? Which settings get applied from the NVIDIA control panel or the NVIDIA GeForce Experience? And for the record, 3 out of 4 members on the panel use AMD. So si Rafael lang yung naka NVIDIA.
I still have.
I still use yours naman. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll just make it easier. So the NVIDIA Experience is the more user-friendly one. And the control panel is the one that looks more technical. Okay. So for fun stuff, you use the NVIDIA Experience. That's the one that you can screen cap, screen record, and you can also stream using NVIDIA's Shield devices. That's their streaming thingy. And then for the control panel, it is used so you can make blanket computer changes na. Like you can say, I want resolution so and so for all games. So it will be the resolution for all games or in certain interfaces. For the NVIDIA experience, it's something you can pull up in-game. Para siyang Steam. Diba on Steam, you get like messages from your friends while you're playing games. NVIDIA experience, you can have it actually hanging around while you're gaming. So it's sort of like a companion while you're playing, which you can pull up anytime. And also, actually, I've never really used the control panel kasi yun nga looks techy. But the GeForce experience is really handy because it updates all your drivers. So that's the most important thing there. Auto driver. Especially if you don't know what driver you need, siya na bahala.
Yep. For my end, with my 2 years of having a 1070, it's GeForce experience is like Radeon's what is this? Radeon software. So basically what that does is kind of collects all the games you have installed and makes it easier for you to create customized settings to increase performance, and even tells you what the performance rating is, like the FPS you get. But his question, I think, was like, which is prioritized? So
Yeah.
prioritize would be default, and default is the NVIDIA control panel. So even if you just freshly installed a video card, that's gonna pop up, and that's gonna be prioritized unless you select control panel application only or application settings, because the NVIDIA control panel, as basic as it seems, it's the default driver or platform, so it can actually override settings you may not find in your video game.
So basically, the control panel is the master, kumbaga. Siya na yung ano. Yeah. So
Parang bonus lang yung GeForce experience.
Arman Jason Galang from YouTube ask, anong magandang computer pang Zoom? And dapat actually ka-Zoom ko to si Arman Jason kanina, pero sira yung audio niya. So, anong magandang computer? Basta yung may audio. Ayusin mo yan, Arman. We did have some bunch of shoutouts. Revin Jan says na parang hinihintay ni Kuya Rafael yung RTX 3000 or parang nakatago na sa likod nung shop. Naka-reserve para kay Rafael. And we did get a tip. Thank you, Benson Santa Ana, the first tip of the day, $125. And he's asking baka may stock na nung palit RTX 3080 Game Rock. To be honest, we do not have any RTX 3000 series yet at all, regardless of brand. We'll talk about that later, but I just want to get that out there na wala pa po kaming 3000 series at all.
In fact, now we don't even have any 2000 series right now.
Ha? Diba? No, we have the 2060, diba? Yung Gaka restock.
Huh? No, so the 2070 all sold out. That all went to PC rigs. They're being built now.
No, we got two 2070s and two 2060s. Yung 2060s.
Okay. I didn't know that we had 2060s. So anyway, yeah. So meron tayong 2060s.
Okay, to the next question. Actually, I like this question. Basically, yung tanong niya, what's better? Yung mas mabilis na graphics card pero less memory dun sa GPU, or yung mas mabagal na graphics card pero mas marami siyang memory? In his example, it's an RX 570 with 8 gigabytes or an RX 580 with 4 gigabytes. Which one is better to buy?
I'll take the first crack at it. Originally, my answer would have been the 580 4 gigabyte scenario. Pero I realized na it's because I game on 1080p. So, if you're gaming on something higher than 1080p, so you need to have more textures, etc. You're going to need the extra RAM.
You'll fill up the memory.
The 8 gigabyte. Yeah. So, For me yun, you'd have to check kung ano yung resolution mo. If you want to go 1440p, you might want to get the 570 with the higher RAM.
Yeah, definitely agree. It depends on, well, one, the games you play, and what resolution or even refresh rates you have. So I think it's underrated, the amount of RAM you need when you actually play, let's say, something like Call of Duty on 2K resolution. That's basic settings will already eat up half of the VRAM. So VRAM is actually very important because that dictates how much, or like how many particles you're gonna have. So, or like, let's say it's gonna produce for you. So it really affects the smoothness of the gameplay.
Actually, I was really on the fence about this, and I thought it was an interesting question kasi yun nga, parang usually faster or newer is better, di ba? So RX 580 automatic better than RX 570, but yun nga, as pointed out by the panel, yun nga, there are other considerations. Actually, ganun talaga sa computer eh. It's not, madalas, hindi talaga straightforward answer. Depende sa context mo, paano mo ginagamit, what games do you play, and things like that. So ayun, generally the consensus is the RX 570 with more memory kaysa sa dun sa 580 with half the memory with 4 gigabytes. Although ako personally, for me, it's tempting just to get the faster card eh. Parang kasi inisip mo it's newer, or you know, it's a faster edition of the same series. Although I do understand the arguments for why you would need more VRAM. Yun nga, kasi ang daming textures for some games and things like that. So yun, interesting question. Next one. This one naman, laptop or desktop? Which is a question we get often. And then, actually may nakasagot na sa YouTube. Sabi niya, depende sa work mo. What do you guys think? It's a very general question eh. Laptop or desktop?
Marvin, go ahead.
Where do you spend most of your time? If you're outside the house most of the time, you might want to sacrifice for the laptop. Just like I remember when I was in school and I first got a laptop, parang ang saya na lagi mong dala yung computer mo eh. But now that hindi na ganun yung use case scenario ko, it's always been a desktop for me.
Right.
For
me, it not aside from like where you spend most of your time, it's also what's more important to you. So very generally, what you get from a desktop is bang for buck. So making what you can get on a desktop smaller will not only increase the price, but then maybe you won't get the same performance. So what the question there is, what do you value more? So compact form, mobility or power. So that's where I'm coming from, because I a few years ago I thought I would love a gaming laptop, or even a laptop that can just do everyday games like Dota. So I saved up, got this Asus laptop, and then I realized after 1 week it's not for me. I would rather have a really large screen and a keyboard that I can adjust. So yeah, no matter what kind of advice we give, also I guess it'll depend once you actually try it out yourself.
Ako naman, I'll just make it clear. I will never buy a gaming laptop. And if I had to choose, it will always be a desktop PC. Because you know what? We already have cell phones that are really great. They can do spreadsheets. They can do everything that a laptop can do. Like Microsoft Office on Android is really good. Like it has even a special function there for phone typing, so that the screen isn't so big. It's really focused. And when you transfer it to desktop, it's a neat looking file. So if you're gonna have to pick between the two, and it's not something that you're like a video editor and you need to edit on the fly, like yung mga weddings na they need to edit the videos, they're yung same day videos. You need a laptop there. So, but talagang, I hate I hate waiting for the battery to charge. And then in the end naman, if it's a gaming laptop, wala, saksak lang yung laptop mo dun sa outlet. I mean, hindi na siya portable eh. It's portable after the first like 2 hours. And then you're like, oh my God, malapit ba ako sa outlet? I mean, it's that tension na wala, parang you're always worried na mawawala ka ng kuryente. I don't want to live like that. So yun.
I
That's
felt
my
that. I
answer.
felt that.
Ang hirap ng buhay mo.
Oh! Mahirap if you're in interview when you were studying in law school, grabe, and then I need a laptop and wala akong outlet, wala, useless. Or nakalimutan mo yung power outlet. Yun, that's the worst. You have the laptop, but wala kang charger. Wala, you're dead in the water. It's like you went there for nothing.
Felt that.
Yeah, I know, for real.
Well, I agree kung depende sa context mo. Yun nga, do you spend more time outside or sa, at your home, work from home? Although for me, I sort of agree na mas ma-desktop ako personally. Especially, for me, the desktop is customizable. You can put the specs talaga that you want. You can upgrade later on. Tsaka for me, sobrang important yung dual screen. I mean, you can dual screen on a laptop, but it's just more convenient on a desktop. Or you can get a wide-ass screen with the desktop. But it really depends on you, on your use case. So again, parang the context of what you need. But if you're on the fence, like you're not really sure either way, but I would lean towards a desktop. Next question.
But actually, going first about the monitors things first, Anton. There are lots of builds now on YouTube. Na it's just a laptop. Tapos one very very big widescreen monitor. Sobrang linis yung setup, especially for the MacBook users. Kasi apparently it seems to work for video editing. Of course, not gaming. Pero yan, malinis tingnan. I mean, it's a neat looking thing to have.
Yeah, you output it.
You're gonna end up having a laptop as a desktop PC kasi nasa bahay lang, di ba? So in the end, might as well just go with a desktop.
Yeah. Well, let's take one from the live chat from Alansky na he asks, pwede ba mag-overclock dyan sa store nyo? Yes, we can overclock if you buy a rig from us, and then we'll try to push it as far as it'll go na stable. Baka mas matagal lang yung turnaround time namin. Kasi yun nga, yung importance of overclocking, kailangan mo talaga i-stress test kung stable ba yung OC settings mo. It also depends if you want to OC lang the CPU or pati na rin yung GPU. So, you'd have to give us more time to monkey around with the computer. But yeah, short answer, kaya naman. Pwede naman ipa-overclock sa amin. Next question from John Francis. And pwede magtanong, nag-upgrade po ako ng GPU pero nagba-black screen monitor ko. No signal. Ano kayang dahilan? Very general question. But what's general advice?
Who wants to go first? Go ahead.
Mar, medyo mahina audio mo.
I can answer first. So yeah, actually I have more questions I guess now because all we have is black. It black screens.
Just that,
so
diba?
what do we know? We know that he upgraded. So it could be similar to what the question was last week, was when he upgraded from, I think, AMD to NVIDIA. So that could be already the first issue. So maybe there were drivers left over from the old GPU that weren't cleaned up. It could also just be maybe faulty installation. So maybe it wasn't 100% flush to the PCIe slot, or power cable could just be reconnected. So, but generally you should start with software first. So let's clean up the drivers. Make sure that you download the DDU.
What was that one from last week? Oh, that software,
DDU.
Yeah.
So the uninstaller, and then get your latest video card driver. Then restart. Then if it's still black screens at a certain point, maybe you can try reconnecting all the cables. So that's very I speak that from experience also because you mentioned also last week, no, yung 5700 XT, which
Yeah, yeah.
had some driver issues. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie. The first time I got it, there were certain times it would
Hmm.
black screen. Actually, it wasn't black screening, but when I did update it, it started black screening. So it could also be the latest driver isn't so great. Uh, and then the second driver from then made things a lot better. So yun lang.
Marv? Marv, can't hear you. I think
No.
your audio.
Kill switch mics ata. Actually, somebody in the live chat asked, would we still recommend AMD graphics cards even though yun nga may driver issues? But as RJ pointed out this week and last week, um, it, yes, it's possible to solve or to push through those driver issues. And okay kasi yung performance nung AMD eh. I mean, it's good bang for your buck, parang good performance for value. But yun nga lang, you might need to spend several times, or several hours or over days, trying to get it to a stable thing. Tapos nakakainis nga yung GPU problem na yun. We had a similar customer, 2080 Super naman, so it's just not limited to AMD graphics cards. He updated the drivers mga 2 months ago or something. Tapos doon na nagka-leche-leche. Parang he was getting the black screen. So we tried everything. At first, we updated the PSU, baka underpowered yung rig. We changed the power cables. We reseated everything. And then we finally, or actually, Machagasi customer, he finally traced the problem to, yun nga, the driver update. So he rolled back the drivers a little, underclocked the card a little, tas yun, wala nang issue. So actually, it's not just an AMD issue. Even NVIDIA now is having trouble with their drivers.
So what do you do in that scenario? You have to like make it
Test.
tansya. Yung
Yeah.
next update, be like, na-solve na ba to? Kung hindi, babalik, you just go back?
Well, you roll back and then wag ka na mag-update. Ngayon, takot na siya mag-update ng drivers. Traumatized na siya.
Yeah, it's a tedious process, but necessary.
I read naman another option is kung nag-black screen siya, wait, actually, ano yun? Assuming that the black screen meaning na it never turns on anymore.
No, it goes, you're playing something and then biglang mag-black screen.
Okay, alright, sige. Ikaw, Marv.
Well, kung info Anton gave na it rather than at the start, posible pa rin yung yung properly installed. So when it's drawing too much power, it shuts off. So he should reseat it pa rin just to be sure.
Yeah. So basic troubleshooting, reseating everything, trying to get the best drivers. I would even say updated drivers because sometimes the best nga are not the updated drivers. Kakapikon, but that's where we are now. Next question. Hi Hardware Sugar, sana mapansin. Napansin nga. I'm self-building B450 Asus ROG Mobo with an R52600. And his problem is, he bought a Cool Moon Diamond Ray na LED bar. 4-pin hole siya, pero 3 lang yung may pin. At hindi nasabi sa description kung 5 volt or 12 volt. Basically kung ARGB or RGB. Tapos, I did buy the ROG GPU bracket support sa GigaWare. Same din siya na 4 pins, pero yung pang-apat, walang pin. Tapos, I did order LED strips din. So, second question, paano ko sila, how's he going to get all of this RGB stuff into the rig? And to be honest, we were talking about this off camera, and then nalilito kasi ako. I'm not too familiar with the different products he's describing, but I think RJ has a solution.
Yeah, just top of my head, when this question was brought up, no, it seems like basically you purchase a few products. Some need 5 volts, some require 12 volts into your motherboard, and the solution there is to purchase what you call an RGB converter or a converter hub. So what that is this device that you can just insert in your PC in your casing, and it has several sockets for 5 volts and 12 volts. So you can basically combine what you've purchased so far, and it's just gonna use one power cable from the power supply.
We do actually, or we used to sell out of stock siya ngayon, but we're trying to restock the RGB or an RGB converter na similar na that RJ was talking about. Parang it's so that you can use your 5 volt, which is the ARGB product, with the RGB header, yung 12 volt dun sa mobo mo. Pero yung concern ko dun, it's a deep cool product. Hit or miss kasi siya eh. Paminsan gumagana, paminsan hindi. So much so na tas walang listahan si deep cool na, okay, itong product na to, gagana to dito. So we've made our own list. It's on our YouTube video for that product. And then every time we have a customer, tinatanong namin, oh, gumana ba? And then kung gumana, we add it to the list. Kung palpak, we say, actually we're very clear when you buy the product na buy at your own risk kasi hindi talaga namin masabi kung gagana ba siya or hindi. So the RGB converters like that are a solution, but yun nga, you have to be careful about what you get kasi yung una kasi yung voltage din eh. Yung ARGB 5 volts lang yun. So it really doesn't power as much like if you have it in series compared to like a series of 12 volt na RGB products imbis na ARGB. So bottom line, magulo talaga yung RGB. It's actually very difficult to get everything synced up, both hardware and software. We had a question in the live chat na ayaw gumana yung RAM niya, RGB RAM niya dun sa Asus Aura Sync or sa MSI Mystic Light. And then how does he fix that? For me, you can use the software mismo of the manufacturer, like G-Skill, kung Trident, may sarili silang software. But yun nga, sobrang paminsan talaga RGB just doesn't play nice with everything else kasi every manufacturer has their own standard or something. If you guys want to chime in about RGB or the different ways to get it to sync all together. Or RGB puke. Wag na.
Well, actually, we had a lot of questions about how can I sync it? Tapos they have a deep cool fan, but then their AIO is Corsair. Tapos their RAM sticks are, I don't know, whatever, crazy stuff. Well, I think you just need to make a diagram, and then you need to see what softwares each product has in common, and then you try using all those softwares which they have in common, and then you end up with whichever works. So far, that's the only thing I've been suggesting. Talagang trial and error, baka you can solve it through the software. Kasi if you can't solve it through the software, wala na. You have to go buy something else. I mean,
Pero
I hate
usually,
RGB.
usually kasi yung mga high-end na third party like NZXT, may sariling software yun. Tapos hindi yun gagana sa MSI Mystic Light, hindi yun gagana sa Asus Aura Sync. Yung Corsair IQ, hindi yun gagana sa NZXT U. So it's good nga if you plan the build na as Rafael was saying, plan the build so that you only need one piece of software it's like the one ring to control everything. Pero yun nga, it's really, you need to plan it. Kung yung pinakamadali, one brand lang, all Corsair, all NZXT. Actually, Deepcool is a good brand na it works well with the third party. So it works with RGB Fusion na Gigabyte.
And they're cheap.
That's true.
Yeah, Deepcool is good value for money. So that's a good option. But if you get yun nga, yung mga mahal, NZXT, Corsair, proprietary kasi yun eh. So,
That's right.
yeah, they lock you in.
Napatingin nga ako when you said deep cool.
Sa
I got my fans from you guys eh. So
Ano yan? RF120? CF120?
CF.
The ARGB ones.
All of the 3-pack deep cool fans, they come with a fan hub, diba? Am I
yes,
correct
fan
with that?
hub and a controller.
The physical thing na you can
Physical, not the
Which
remote.
is
Yeah.
very handy.
Yeah. Martin from Facebook asks, Sir, ano best place ng liquid cooler? Sa front or sa top? He's, I guess, referring to the rad, the radiator. Kayo, anong thoughts?
I'm very I don't know if it's old school, but very standard when it comes to airflow. So I think the intake at the start of the CPU or casing should just be open.
Open, diba? Yeah, as much as possible.
As much as possible, start the momentum already from the front, and then the radiator should be at the back, because even if you want it in the front, maybe it looks good, or at the top, you're trying to block something, or make your all eyes go to the cooler LED.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, your radiator has heat. It's gonna produce heat. So what you want to do is make sure it's the last thing that the wind actually touches. So for me, if you put it in front, you're actually blowing the hot air through your CPU. So, but to me, honestly, I don't think it's gonna. I don't. I've tested it. Maybe it's like a few degrees long, yung difference. But if you have a very enclosed space, and a few degrees will matter, yes, just leave it at the back.
It also depends on your cases kasi sometimes depending on the size of the rad and then what case you have, wala ka na talaga ibang option kung
Right.
sa harap or sa taas or sa rear. So depende din yun. Gamers Nexus has a great video on proper orientation of the rad. Like it has to be, I think, from the top, and then it has to wind down to the bottom to get the proper flow. So when you mount it on the top, or like this, and then the cables are coming from here then going up, that apparently shortens the lifespan of the AIO kasi hindi nga maganda yung flow nung liquid through the closed loop system. So if you're interested in more AIO things, definitely check out that video. Rayster Dolfo from YouTube says pa shout out, so shout out Rayster Dolfo.
Shout out.
Amen.
So, next question. From John Paul, Sir, magtatanong po ako nung una kasi naka-SSD ako with storage na hard disk. Nung reformat ko CPU, computer ko, pet peeve ko yan na people call the CPU, the system, the CPU. So, na-reformat ko computer ko, hindi ko naisama yung hard drive. Maisama yung hard drive ko, lumalabas boot manager dot missing pag walang hard drive. Boot manager dot is missing. Pero pag walang hard drive, okay naman. Let's interpret the question.
Hindi. What I understand from him is, before siya nag-format, meron siyang SSD, meron siyang
HDD.
HDD. Everything was working fine. Then nag-reformat siya, which I assume ang reformat niya is yung SSD. He iniwan yung HDD. Habang pag nakasaksak yung HDD, nag-boot manager missing. Pero pag in-unplug niya yung HDD, mag-boot up yung SSD. So, assuming tama yung basa ko sa question niya, baka for some reason, may remnant ng old installation, yung yung HDD niya ng another hindi fully deleted OS installation. So, it's triggering the boot sequence na yun yung unang binuboot up niya, or yun lang yung binuboot up niya, and then since hindi na ayos yung OS, nag-boot manager missing na. That's it's happened to me before when I was trying to figure out kung anong sira yung hard disk ko. So I had like multiple OSs installed on different hard disks. So, minsan lang na-recognize yung luma. So, yun, he might want to check that, yung boot up sequence.
Right. I agree. Sometimes there are remnants of the previous Windows installation in another drive, especially if it was the original drive that you installed Windows in. Actually, this just happened last week. So I upgraded one of my hard drives, 500 gigabytes, to 2 terabytes. And then when I plugged the 2 terabytes in, it was detecting it, but it was still looking for
The
my
500.
old 500 gig, to the point that the original drive D was still there, but it said something odd. It said 60 out of 480 available, but I reformatted it already. So I'm not sure if this is a Windows issue or if it's a BIOS or motherboard issue. But basically, what worked was I had to reinstall the 500 gig. So it detected it. So even if there are no files whatsoever,
Yeah.
it says I'm consuming
Yeah.
some of it.
Damn.
But I had to go to device manager and delete the volume. So it's now technically unallocated space. So
Okay.
that when it worked, that's when the 2 terabyte was fully detected.
Parang
So you might have to do that.
parang na-miss niya yung 500 GB. Parang nagulat siya na ano, "Oy,
Wala
saan
siyang
ba napunta?"
closure.
Oh, yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. You gotta close it all. You gotta break it properly para ano,
Yes,
wala na ano, wala nang pag-asa to. Di na tayo magkakabalikan and then, ano, may bago na. I mean,
Like that.
yeah. Actually, to be
Tama yan.
honest, these volume things and the hard drive things, sobrang hassle kasi sobrang technical nila. But at the same time, you think dapat simple lang eh. Kasi it's a new drive, you just stick in the new drive, everything should work. Pero we do get a lot of questions like this na parang ang labo. Like, how come one drive is not working, or yun nga, I'm only seeing half the drive as free space, parang ganon. So you might need to do what RJ mentioned na you really need to dive into device manager or sorry, disk manager para dun sa volumes, or i-unmount mo or something. Ewan ko, ang daming medyo ano yung mga hard drives eh. Although as Marvin also pointed out, yun nga, it might be a remnant of the old system, which is really why we suggest reformatting everything na lang. You know, just let go. Hirap kasi kung ilipat mo sa iba, tapos, di ba, parang may naiwan or something, the files get mixed up or things like that. Although, as RJ pointed out, even if you format it and everything, paminsan may problema pa din. So, so it does get quite technical even for such a simple thing. Gabriel Valmonte from YouTube asks, pwede ba niya isaksak diretso yung computer niya sa wall outlet? Basically, kasi nasira yung AVR niya. My short answer here is, pwede naman, but for long-term health, it's really better to get an AVR. But you know, you can, if you just need to use your computer, wala kang AVR, pwede naman. You can use it for a week or something. But, yeah, yan. Yeah. Yan si...
1000.
Oh, see,
Power 1000 VA. It's going in 6 years old na. 8 years old, mga ganun.
Oh, live demo.
you guys, have you ever tried na diretso na? Although feeling ko lahat tayo naka-AVR eh.
Right now, nakadiretso.
Is it doon? See, RJ does it.
Wow.
Nakadiretso. Pero yes, I would advise you a UPS. And the UPS brands matter. I've had a few brands. I forgot na eh. They were worth about 2,000 plus that failed on me. Failed on me when I needed them.
How many did you buy them? How many UPS have you bought?
3 in siguro 12 years. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I know. And thankfully that was 2 of them was back then in an old condo. So they had power issues there.
Yeah,
So it's a lot better here.
yeah, you can say
Ano
the brand.
brand
We don't carry naman any UPS.
We
or
don't carry
AVR.
it. Ano yung brand nun?
I don't remember.
Hindi siya
It was
carry.
definitely bang for buck because of the amount. Parang you had like 6 outlets or sockets compared to where I eventually upgraded to APC. It had 3, but it was heavy duty and it was worth it talaga. I don't remember the name.
Okay.
Okay, next question from Max. Ask ko lang po kasi may nabasa ako na possible na hindi compatible yung RAM sa motherboard if yung RAM is higher GB than what the motherboard requires. For example, yung motherboard niya requires only 4 gigabytes of RAM. May ganun po ba talaga na may limit ng RAM yung motherboard? Sabi din po doon, kapag 4 gigabytes lang yung required ng mobo, kahit salpakan nung 8 gigabytes of RAM pataas, 4 gigabytes lang yung madedetect niya. Actually, I put this question in kasi for me, parang no-brainer siya na The most modern systems can use up to 32, which is really overkill na for most needs. But have you guys experienced na may hard limit, kumbaga yung RAM capacity or RAM capability ng mobo?
Yeah. Just check the diba?
The
The
specs?
QVL.
Yeah,
Diba?
the QVL also will state
The
speeds,
QVL is qualified vendor list.
Basically the whitelist na ito compatible to, or ano, parang these are the things na yeah, the rated speeds or something. Although have you guys ever it's never been a concern kasi for me na 4 gigabytes lang yung pwede sa mobo na to, parang
No.
ganun. 'Di ba?
Not storage, not RAM,
Not size.
RAM,
Yeah.
not size. Speeds, yes.
Yeah.
But not size at all. And it's completely fine if you, let's say, have an 8 gig kit, you've already purchased it, and for some reason, let's just say you really can't have more than 4 gig for this motherboard. Yeah, it'll always use the maximum amount naman. It's not gonna hinder you in any way. But yes, usually I don't think I've ever come across that then.
Me too eh. Yeah, speeds
Speed, yes.
yeah, speed you need to check kung up to what compatibility yung mobo, but yung bumili ka ng 8 and then 4 lang pala yung mobo. I don't know, maybe this is like for older models. But
Right.
definitely modern systems, and when I say modern, maybe 5-8 years, ago, it shouldn't really be a concern, especially for consumer level. I don't know if you
Yeah.
need like 128 gigabytes of RAM for a server or something. Yun, mas specialized na yun. But yung consumer level lang, 16 gigabytes, you really shouldn't have any problems just on the size of the RAM. Next question. Here is our midpoint of the show. Dominic has no question. He just wanted to say na stay safe, healthy, and hydrated. More power to Hardware Sugar. Tapos linagay ko lang to as the midpoint of the show, where we usually take a brief break to talk about latest tech news. Actually, I wanted to talk about the walang kamatayang RTX 3000 series news. Pero nag-drop kasi si AMD nung 5th gen, ano
Yeah.
nila eh, 5th gen
Yes.
news. So, ito si AMD CEO eh. So I mean, what do you guys want to talk about? The 5th gens or just whichever grabbed your fancy, I guess, kung ano yung mas interesting sa inyo.
You go. Baka si Rocky, the NVIDIA guy.
The 3000 series guy.
Kaya muna.
For me, I'm really psyched actually about the 5000. I got confused. I was waiting for the 4th gen AMD, and then pala nag-drop si 5th gen coming out next month daw. And apparently the 4th gen will just be for pre-builds sa mga OEM. So it won't really reach consumer level. Like it's not like pupunta ka sa store tapos may naka-display na 4th gen. Oy, yan kukunin ko. So it's really for
Wait, ano yung OEM?
yung big manufacturers, yung pre-built, yung original equipment manufacturers.
Like for enterprise or even laptops.
HP,
or
mga ganun.
Yeah.
Dell, yeah. So it's not like you're gonna go to a store and say, I want to buy that 4th gen 4000 series.
Right.
Na,
Basta, it won't be in retail stores. It's not open for the mass market.
mukhang basically. So, after the 3rd gen, talo na tayo kaagad sa 5th gen, and it's Zen 3 architecture, and then the performance based on, syempre, si AMD gumagawa, si AMD nagbebenta. So, syempre, sasabihin ni AMD, sobrang bilis, diba? But based on what they have said, it does seem to be quite a performance leap, 25%, I think, on the average, or of course, depending on the models, over the current 3rd gen. And now I need to memorize again anong mga motherboards na compatible dito sa Zen 3, 5th gen. Kakainis.
I like the naming though.
Bakit 5,000?
I think it just reminds me of the older naming schemes of
nila? Throwback.
mga throwback.
Kasi, alam mo na, RJ has been building for a long time kung parang nostalgia siya sa sa old naming schemes. But yeah, so apparently we're skipping the 4th gen and then jumping straight to 5th gen. And kayo, any thoughts about either RTX 3000 or AMD 5th gen?
Go.
About the RTX 3000, I've been watching some YouTube commenters saying that it eats up a lot of power supply. So every time someone asks, what should I place? I just say 850 watts. Kasi I'm
Grabe
seeing...
naman.
No, yeah. Kasi it wasn't yan. Parang it just eats power daw eh. In fact, there are YouTubers who are complaining that it's somewhat unstable in some areas. And they think it's power for the most part na kailangan. So, since, it's not really, it's not really out yet for everybody, it's really difficult to tell ano talaga yung problema. But one of the things I saw is just give it power. So, if you're
When in doubt.
concerned,
Yeah.
if you're concerned about your PC na kailangan mo yung if you're building a new PC lang naman, and you want to future-proof it, 850 watt man yan. I don't know, just based lang on other people on YouTube. I have no experience.
Yeah,
saying this
I saw
see?
that, Rocky. Parang they're calling 750 the minimum. So parang
Even-
whenever you hear minimum, diba? Parang
Even for the
that's not
lower
good.
ends, even for the 3080,
Yeah. Sorry, 3080.
For the 3080,
yeah.
Okay.
750 watts.
So, talagang, I mean, like, the
Wow.
problems they're detecting now is it shuts down. I mean, it's horrible. It's not like slow performance or anything. Talagang it just shuts down. It's not a usable device. Imagine spending that much money tapos hindi gumana. I'd rather spend on an 850 watt just to make sure.
Right. And the street prices are crazy, ah.
Yeah,
I've
wild.
I've been
wild.
googling
Yeah,
every
yeah.
day. Mga nakita ko, the stuff I see at 2 a.m. 670K for 380.
Grabe.
I saw nga.
If you have the budget, eh.
I saw this Lazada guy.
It gets
He
sold
was-
quickly.
There's a guy on Lazada selling it for like 60,000, 65,000.
Yeah, yeah.
But wala siyang reviews. It's just John something. And you're like,
New seller.
I have it.
oh,
That's it.
Yeah.
take that risk.
I have seen posts na may mga local retailers, pero yun nga, ang bilis ma-sold out, sobrang limited pa rin ng stock.
The only one I saw na nakabili or nakabenta, I was watching one YouTube channel and he said nakabili siya sa Baguio.
Sa Baguio.
So one shop in Baguio had one stock.
Fairness,
Nakuha niya.
nakaabot sa Baguio, ah.
Wow. Good for Baguio.
Yung nakita ko Cebu actually, ang bilis na mabenta. There's a good PC shop in Cebu na sinusundan ko sa Facebook. Parang ano sila.
Oh.
Good on them.
They have good stock. But yun, they sold out right away.
Nice.
The problems I've been seeing from the RTX 3000s, it's the caps. Hindi daw maganda yung capacitors. If they're all the same type of capacitors, it leads to problems with the card. Or even driver issues with the first release of the driver. So there's a lot of stuff na kailangan ma-work out dun sa... It's not a smooth... It hasn't been like a error-free release for NVIDIA. Although, grabe yung hype. I mean, they really managed they're really riding that wave of hype for the 3000 series.
They even announced it, no? NVIDIA said that, and was that a few days ago? Like,
Na,
we really
yeah.
don't have stock.
Yeah.
And it's gonna last till next year.
Yeah, parang the CEO said something like, we thought it would be popular, so we really made a lot, but we didn't realize gaano ka popular. Everybody wants this thing, so talagang we can't keep up with demand. It's not a supply
Right.
issue though. It's not a production issue. It's just a demand issue. Just really so many people wanting it. Wild.
Insane.
Rafael.
Sorry, I was just going to say that it's a blessing in disguise then. I mean, I'm always iffy about getting the first production run of
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
I'd rather get the second batch or the third batch of something.
Kapag na shakedown cruise na na-solve na lahat ng mga problems na either hindi
Yeah.
nakita or nakita pero renush out lang to meet the schedule. Yeah.
That's true.
Actually, go ahead.
Just to add, if I got my 5700 XT a year ago, I'd really hate that. I wouldn't go back to siguro.
Sa inis
Actually, I'm curious to know how behind AMD is with their graphics cards.
They're
Like, did
gonna,
they see it coming? Or,
they have
yun
Big
nga.
Navi coming out. I mean,
Yeah.
they have another release coming out na supposedly
People have been waiting for it.
either magtatay or better, but it's hard. Wala pa talagang ano.
Okay. So, there's no news naman na talagang they got left behind. Kasi, imagine the R&D of the,
Yeah.
imagine the R&D if they're behind
Right,
that
right.
yun.
Yeah.
So greatly.
Rafael Bermudez from YouTube just want to say thank you for your accommodations to my question sa inyong Facebook page. And you can thank Rafael for that. Siya yung he's the one who usually answers the Facebook page. Very swift ang reply and very helpful sa mga beginners and
You know.
na
welcome.
may no
Kasi
knowledge in computer
Sa
building.
totoo lang, ano yan, beginner din ako eh. So, I understand what you're going through. Kasi sila yung mas technical.
All right, so that's the mid-show break. Next question from Jerns. Or Gems. Sorry, it's Gems. Sa sinabi nyo pong, sorry. This is from the video I did where I said na for RAM speeds, actually the pinaka-limit na for Ryzen is 3733 megahertz. Beyond that, actually you're hurting your performance kasi yung Infinity Fabric memory clock. Basta basically, nagkakaleche-leche na with the CPU memory clock if you go beyond 3733 megahertz sa RAM. So, yan yung context. And he's asking, okay na po ba yung dalawang 2666 megahertz? Does it add up to 5.2? Basically, 26 times 2. So he's asking if I have 2 sticks of 2666 megahertz, does that mean yung total RAM speed ko 5.2 megahertz? And actually somebody backed up the question, a good question, gusto ko rin malaman. This might seem basic for the panel, but again, it's one of those things that it easily confuses people na hindi masyadong familiar sa computer, so it would be good to answer.
Well, yeah. So usually, if he has 2 sticks of 2666 megahertz, right?
Yeah.
That just means that both sticks are compatible with each other and are running at the same speeds. And that actually does not mean you don't add the two numbers together. And did it say how much, like what for 266 megahertz of what size?
No, he just mentioned the speeds.
So usually the size will be dictated as well naman when you purchase a RAM stick or RAM kit.
Yeah, so the RAM speeds don't add up. So 2666, yun na talaga yun, 2666. So you don't need to worry about hitting or going beyond the 3733 megahertz limit or recommended limit for the Ryzen CPUs. Yun nga, it's a actually, I really like this question kasi hindi ko maisip na problema to. Kasi yun nga, medyo sanay ka sa computer, you think, 3,200 megahertz, yun na yun. But it's true, nakakalito sa mga beginner. And maraming ganyan sa computer na parang natural na lang for more advanced users, but it's really parang nakakalito para sa mga bago pa lang, nagsisimula pa lang sa pag-build. So thanks, Jem, for that question. Next one, from Clotty. Sir, I don't know if dapat isama dito sa guide. Pero 'di ba kapag changing ka ng RAM to faster RAM, na-activate lang yung speed nun sa BIOS. So that I think he's upgrading from a slower speed to a newer RAM. I'm planning on doing that. Yung speed nun is 266 megahertz to X8. Planning on upgrading to 3,200 megahertz na 2x8. Pa-advise naman. So, yun, basically he's asking if I upgrade, how do I make sure na I get that speed? Kung bumili ako ng 3,200 megahertz, how do I make sure na 3,200 talaga yung bilis niya, yung takbo niya?
So, yeah, he's correct that it's in the motherboard. And it's really important to check. Kasi actually, medyo may sort of boo-boo ako. Parang, all this time, since December last year, I've been running my 3200 RAM on 2900 because I accidentally clicked the wrong XMP profile. Kasi on my motherboard, dalawa yung XMP. There are 3 options. There's an XMP1, XMP2, and off. So if you click it off, you won't get the max speed, the max advertised speed that was sold to you. You'll just get, I think, 2400, the basic one. The XMP one will be a slower one, and then the XMP2 will be the one that will get the full 3200. So if you upgrade to 3200 and you remove your old RAM, then you just have to go to the motherboard and press XMP2, which is usually the faster one.
Right. And to add to that, that'll also, this is very important for my experience as well, no Marvin. That'll depend on your motherboard. So you can buy a 3200 megahertz RAM kit, but if you add it to a motherboard that only supports let's say different brands or other brand kits other than yours, it's gonna default to your RAM's native speeds. So that could be similar to Marvin's, which is 2400, or it can even be lower, 2133. So you have to make sure, as what was mentioned by Marvin earlier, to before purchasing, first check the motherboard's QVL. It's just gonna show you a list of compatible RAM sticks, and if it should be there as well, what kind of XMP profiles or overclocking profiles will be available for you.
So check the QVL, and once you do get a RAM, make sure you go into the BIOS. That's yung bago pa mag-Windows, yung parang nagka-count pa lang yung memory dun sa simula ng boot up screen mo, pasok ka agad sa BIOS, then yun nga, select the proper XMP2 as Marvin pointed out. We have an interesting question from Mar Miku from YouTube, and it's about a laptop, and we don't really sell laptops, so actually wala akong alam masyado, but he's asking, what can you say about Legion's thermal performance? They said it's an outstanding gaming laptop, which suffers from thermal throttling. I'm not, yun nga, I have no, yun nga, I think we've established na desktop fan ako. So wala akong alam masyado sa laptops. I don't even know what brand Legion is. Has anybody heard about it? Lenovo. Okay.
Yeah. So Nikki, my girlfriend, had one also, and I think it was pretty good. What I liked about Legion, the Legion line is, their take on heat dissipation. So they really made sure they did whatever they could to make the back breathe easier, for the heat produced from the GPU, CPU, and not only that, but when you look at the laptop, usually you have your USB slots left and right, but they made sure that everything was at the back, so that your hands or basically your left and right, there's no heat. Everything's shot out the back. So I was actually very impressed.
You're talking about this?
Yeah, that's Legion. That's the Legion series.
These are the vents you're talking about?
Yeah. I think that's way more updated. But yeah, everything is at the back.
There are holes here for heat to escape from the back.
Right.
All to the sides.
For thermal throttling, I wouldn't say I experienced it when I used it, but I think generally that's always a risk when trying to, like what Rocky mentioned, gaming on a
laptop,
smaller form factor.
Yeah.
Like a laptop.
Okay, good to know. I can't recall actually if we have we do have a Lenovo supplier. It's just that we don't really deal in laptops. Although if you do want a laptop from us, we can tell us your budget and we can recommend stuff to you, and then we'll custom order it from our suppliers. But we don't usually have on stock. Carl Logon from YouTube has asked this question like 15 times already in the chat, so let's just help him out. How to remove virus from PC, especially the relevant knowledge virus without resetting the PC. I'm not exactly sure what he means by relevant knowledge virus. In general, you can use their software like Windows Defender. Ano ba magandang
AVG
is AVG good?
Yeah.
What's ano ba bang maganda na virus software?
I'm gonna suggest something that really sounds like a scam, but you can Google it right now. It's called Superantispyware. I'm not kidding you. So back around 2006, I got this virus that gave
Wait,
they gave
we
me
were in college together.
yeah.
6.
So it kept giving me like ads and pop-ups on my screen, and I couldn't get rid of it. And I tried everything. Norton, was that ESET? Not the Nod 32.
Yeah, E something yun.
Yeah, Nod 32,
Yeah.
AVG, McAfee, everything.
Cafe, right.
Right. And then I was like, wow, I'm screwed. So I have to reformat. Diba? Uso pa DVDs din. Tinamad na talaga ako to think about that. So, and then I tried searching more, and I found this super anti-spyware. And then it found it. It found what all the top brands couldn't. So ever since then, that's what I've been using.
And it's still around. You're still
I
using
still
it.
use it. I still
And it's
use it.
free?
Yeah, it's free. There's a paid version, but I still use the.
Oh, wow. Oh, sige, let me
In
note
fairness,
that.
super,
Yeah.
Learn
super,
something.
Super anti-spyware.
Super anti-spyware.
Parang bata gumawa nung ano.
Yeah, no.
Can I
No,
can I can I add, since we're talking about viruses? You know, the best place to get viruses is when you're a student and you go to a comp shop and you carry your USB for printing your homework. That's where I got mine. And then I had this relationship with my computer virus na talagang if I attempted to do a Norton scan or an AVG scan, the PC would blue screen. So para siyang,
It
don't
knew-
bother me,
it knew how
I won't
to,
bother
yeah,
you.
protect
So we
itself.
had this harmonious relationship, me and this virus, for like a year. Kasi wala eh. Hindi ako knowledgeable eh. And then I couldn't kill it. Wala. We just lived together until I finally reformatted a year later. Pero grabe, I got it from one USB somewhere down the line.
Oh,
For sure.
Live and let live lang yun, no nga. Hindi naman, hindi ka naman
From
inaano
a
eh.
comp shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speed bites.
Speed bites at Taft Avenue.
Question from Facebook from Bitoy Kongko. Ano yung NUC or NUC? Actually,
The small computers, di ba?
yeah. It's Intel for next unit of computing, but sobrang small form factor siya. I guess pre-built ba lahat nung NUC or NUC? Siguro, or how did?
They sell some custom where you can, if you can find the parts that to fit in it, you can buy an empty NUC like. It won't be Intel's, pero may form factor na ako nakita na.
Ano yan? Smaller than regular ITX? Mas maliit pa kaysa sa regular ITX?
Dude, it's the size of
Like a shoebox? Oh, may ano? ano?
It's
Like a
this big,
like a
man.
phone? So like 2 phones?
yeah, or 4 phones. There. Na
Ah.
magkapatong yung dalawa.
Ah.
Super liit lang niya. It's what BPO companies use.
Okay. There you go, Bitoy Kongko. I hope Marvin has answered your question. Alam ko kasi si Marvin yung parang I understand Mr. Kongko wanted to stump you, Marvin. Parang kausap ko to last week eh. On to the next question is from Pandesal. I do like this question. Do you have a general rule of thumb when buying a PC? Say you have a budget of 50K, 40% will go to the GPU, 25% to the CPU. Yung tipong ganun na para naka-ratio na siya yung naka-ratio na yung budget mo based on the parts that you need.
Ayun, Rocky has something to say.
Actually,
No budget.
every time someone wants time someone sends a message to Facebook, I'm the one sending everyone their PC builds. Actually, if you go to our PC builder, the first thing you see there is CPU, and then I think mobo, and then GPU. But really, for me, I would just pick. The first thing I do is pick the CPU and then the GPU, and then after that, everything else follows afterwards. And then you just come up na lang with the perfect rig based on what would power that CPU and GPU. If it can't power that CPU and GPU, then move down. But I'm like a horse. I just see. Like, I want that CPU and GPU. Yun lang. Then after that, I make everything else happen.
Nice. Prioritization.
Yeah.
Oh,
I like that method. Mine's definitely eye candy first. So that's what I tell naman people who ask me the same question. Work you look for the monitor you want and then work your way backwards. So
I never
if you
thought
want
of that.
2K resolution, if you want 144 hertz, then you're gonna want a beefier video card as opposed to a stronger processor. So you can make do with like an R5 2600X, which is what 6.8 now, and but then make sure you beef up your video card with like maybe 2070 Super, 2080 Super. So, but if you're gonna do 1080p only, then that really gives you way more room to play around with the CPU, the RAM evenly. So yeah, it really depends. But that's for me, because my perspective is if you're gonna stare at something the whole day, make sure it's something you really like.
Yeah. Amen. Talagang, yeah, I completely agree. Parang, yun nga, this is, you're building a rig for yourself. It's gonna be something, yeah, you look at basically 8 hours, 10 hours a day, 12 hours. So, kung kaya ng budget, yeah, it's really, it pays to customize it to how you want and the performance that you want. It's hard to really give like percentage, like based on the question, like 40% goes to the GPU or things like that. Kasi nga, iba-ibang styles of building. Si Rafael, more performance na, basta yung pinakamabilis sa GPU, then everything else flows from there. Si RJ, parang it's like, you have the monitor, then 2K gaming, and then everything flows from there. Although in general, usually, pinakamahal na single part is usually the GPU. Usually, but yun nga, again, there's so many kinds of builds, it really depends. You can go crazy with a 15,000 peso case, like the one we just did for the Corsair AHT 600. Oh, laki pero ang bigat, grabe. So it really, there's really no ratio and proportion. More like, yun nga, what do you need from your build? Marv?
Yeah, so for me, yung medyo similar yung approach ko kay Rocky. But since this person is asking for a rule of thumb, for a mid-range gaming computer, which I assume because he wants a GPU, my experience has been, after planning so many times to build a PC across several generations, is that the cost of the CPU and the motherboard cannot significantly be higher than the GPU. At most, dapat CPU plus motherboard equals GPU.
Cost of GPU.
Yeah. Yeah, kasi there's no sense in getting a super high-end motherboard if you don't really need it.
Yeah.
Diba? Parang, yeah.
Actually, feeling ko nga sa maraming motherboards, the manufacturers just put a lot of features, but a lot of people don't use it naman talaga. It's like, oh, B550, X470, X570. And kasi you think, high-end CPU, kailangan high-end din yung motherboard. Yes, of course, there are use cases where you would want super expensive boards, but really it's just more like, again, it's this thing that I just need the fastest, I just need the most expensive, pero does it really add to the performance overall of the computer? It's like, I guess we could do a YouTube video on that, but it is true na you don't really need to go bonkers with the mobo. Just get a reliable one, yung maganda yung
Caps.
Yeah, yung caps. What's the thing? The forget the term. But yeah, yung heat sink. Yeah. Actually, di ko pa nagawa yung motherboard video for yung basic beginners. So baka I'll brush up on that for that video. Ezekiel actually said on YouTube ata comments na the nice PC shop in Cebu is called Strategic Holds. I tried to Google it pero hindi ko mahanap. Trivia lang, yung mami namin ni Rafael galing Cebu, so we do actually are there quite often, except ngayon dahil COVID, pero usually we're there, so I'm just curious about the local PC scene there, kaya sinusundan ko yung shop na yon. Although itong Strategic Holds hindi ko mahanap but I'll try to look for it on Facebook. Yung and DBP from YouTube asks, magkakilala po ba kayo ni Sir Burmore? No, we do not know Sir Burmore. But we've been following him even before we set up our own channel. And one time, na-comment si Burmore dun sa isang YouTube community post namin. So, na ano ako, like, wow! Burmore commented on our post. So, we don't know him personally, but he does know about Hardware Sugar, if only kasi nag-comment siya once. Next question from Big Smoke Roque. This is a question for low-spec gamers. I know di dapat tinitipid ang PSU. Yes, di dapat tinitipid yun. However, I want to ask performance-wise, what difference does it really make using a generic PSU versus an 80+ rated PSU?
Wait, before we continue, Big Smoke, do you even know where that is from, Anton?
I'm gonna say Red Dead, GTA.
No. Close! Yeah, it's a GTA character,
yeah.
San Andreas. Okay. Anyway, sorry.
Alam ko na yung mga reference, saan mo hinuhugot yung mga references mo eh.
Okay.
Lumalabas na yung age natin. Tama na.
Power supply. I was talking with you about the bronze
80+.
80+. We have a lot of customers every now and then complaining that they hear electrical sounds
Yung
dun sa
buzz.
PC. Oo. And
Coil
well,
wine.
you said that it was because it's a bronze PSU. It's just less efficient.
I've only
So
noticed that comment from bronze users, yeah, which is why
And that's
I
and parang we hear that comment from users who bought Seasonic and Cooler Master. So
no, even
branded.
even Silverstone, we sell the Silverstone. I remember
Oh.
parang may nagano din.
Yeah, so even if it's branded, you'll get that weird thing. Not naman saying that nasiraan sila. But, you don't want your fancy computer making weird sounds. Kasi, maingay na yung fans eh. Tapos, dagdag pa yung kuryente na sound. Right? So there, that's my other thing. So even if the branded stuff, give trouble at the bronze level, what more yung ano yun? Yung no brand. And I think based on my experience, the powers of going back to the AVR thing, if you don't have an AVR, the only thing protecting the rest of the PC guts is the PSU. So if that PSU isn't strong or it doesn't do its job, your entire PC will fry. So if you want to skimp on the PSU, you're risking the safety of your house. I don't know. Has a PC ever burned down a house before?
I hope not.
Well, yeah, but you're risking the safety of your PC parts. Para siya yan. If you've ever had a Nintendo, die because nakasaksak siya sa outlet, tapos it wouldn't turn on anymore. I lost 2 Nintendo 64s because of electrical outlet. I didn't use
Voltage.
AVR. Oh
my god.
So it's just like that. Once the whole thing just goes kaput. So your PSU is your first line of defense. And then that's why you get the AVR para may second line ka and so forth.
Marin from YouTube comments na I almost burnt my desk before. I think he's referring to faulty PSU or sumabog na PSU.
Oh my gosh.
Ah,
Buti na lang.
So sorry to hear that.
Marv, for the generic versus 80+ question.
Actually, yeah, Rocky. Yeah. Kasi his question is performance, di ba? So power supply, you can measure performance efficiency, di ba? So generic power supplies, may 80+ efficiency yung mga branded. But most generic PSUs naman, their efficiencies will be around 70 to 77%. So it's a small difference, pero for the Philippines, since our electricity is a little more expensive than the US, it will still be a significant difference. And really, what you're paying for when you get the branded PSU or a higher level efficiency PSU, bronze to silver, silver to gold, or even a higher wattage CPU is the additional features they built in, the protective features Rocky was mentioning about. Now, it's tempting kasi for low-spec vendors, low-spec gamers. I mean, I've been there when I was in high school na napaka-limited yung budget. So, it's really tempting na magtipid sa power supply. Pero, ito na lang isipin mo, kung wala kang budget kung wala ka talagang budget, tapos nasira pa yung computer mo kasi na-fry yung PSU mo, iiyak ka talaga eh. So, spend the extra to protect, even kahit low spec yan. Yan yung computer mo eh, di ba? Protect it.
Sorry, hirit ako na wala kasing budget nung high school kasi date ka nung date eh. Labas ka nung labas eh. Priorities! Dapat ginastos mo sa computer mo. Hirap sa'yo eh. But I completely agree. Yes, yun nga, it might cost a bit more, but in the long run, yun nga, the branded PSUs are generally more reliable. They'll generally last you longer. And yun nga, mas kampante ka talaga. Well, doon sa internet yung mga memes kasi doon sa generic parang the bomb has been planted eh. Parang yung hindi kasi sigurado. It's yun nga, hindi mo alam sasabog na. I mean, of course that's an exaggeration, but yun nga, it's just that mindset na hindi ka sigurado doon sa mga generics eh. It's much better to have peace of mind. Kahit yung 80 plus bronze lang na branded. And it's not like yun nga, you can get the Cooler Master actually has very good bronze. I mean, super impressed with the PSUs of Cooler Master. Kasi we had to use it for a client. He got a much more expensive brand. It broke down. We lent him a Cooler Master na 500 watts lang na bronze. And then for like 6 months, kasi ang tagal bago ma-replace ng brand na yun, na gold ano. The CM really did a good job. So there are some good, well-priced PSUs na ano naman, na 80 plus certified na rin naman.
Wait, what is a non-branded PSU? What is that?
Korea. I mean, what you usually get from the cheap cases na kasama na yung case. Kasama with the case.
Like what's an example?
Well, wala nga silang brand. So
walang brand at all?
Yeah,
Generic. So if you buy this, let's say 900 peso case, it already comes with a 450 watt PSU.
What does it say dun sa specs? 450 watt? Walang brand?
450 watt pero hindi true rated.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Ito for example, Rocky.
Oh.
Roswell. Ang nakalagay sa PSU niya nakasama model DR8500 BTX. So, yun. So there is no brand.
Okay.
I think parang baka model number lang siya.
Kala ko indie branded means you just don't know the brand. Or it's a not popular brand. But talagang walang brand.
Usually wala tatak. Yeah, yun nga. You get a super cheap case and may kasama ng PSU, and if you're building ta super limited yung budget, inisip mo good deal eh. May case ka, may kasama ng PSU, 'di ba? Parang sulit. But yun nga, again, and to be fair, I mean those things can last for years. But yun nga, it's a crapshoot eh. Parang you're just playing the odds na walang mangyayaring masama sa'yo. And sometimes maswerte ka, wala nga mangyayaring masama, pero sometimes stuff happens, and to avoid, to mitigate or to lessen that risk, better to get an 80 plus na ano.
Let's put it this way. All my PSUs in the past have been branded and they've all died.
And they all died, yeah. Eventually.
They've all died na. They've all died. I've had Cooler Master. I've had...
Corsair.
What's that? Corsair. And what's that other one? The Puma?
Cougar.
Cougar.
The Puma.
Puma. Oh, by the way, a shout out to Cedric, who is watching us from the Bermuda Island.
Oh, wow.
Bermuda Island.
Hindi ba yan yung company niya?
Oh.
Nakita ko rin yung comment na yun.
Saying good morning from Bermuda Island. Hindi. Good morning eh. It's night time now.
Okay.
Wala, I just want to shout out to everyone who's from the other parts of the world. Kasi, we've built 2 very rather pricey builds na from fathers who are working hard over there. Thank you to everyone who's watching us if you're not here, and also thank you for everyone who's watching here. Because I didn't know that we had so many supporters abroad pa.
Pag-asa talaga ng Pilipinas yung mga OFW. So, next question is, when it comes to price, nagbe-build ba kayo ng PC and competitive po ba ang hardware sugar? Like, kasing presyo nyo ba ang ECPC or PC Hub? Actually, I just put this question kasi I replied to the guy via Facebook and I said, to be honest, I don't know how much the other stores charge. Kung do they charge for building, do they charge, magkano ba yung ibang parts sa kanila. Kasi number one, ang sobrang sakit nun sa ulo to track all of the items. Oh, may R5 3600 kami. Ano kaya price nun sa ECPC? Ano kaya price nun sa DynaQuest? So we do not track the prices of the other stores. Baka mas mahal sa amin, baka mas mura. But definitely, it's free to build sa amin. If you buy a PC from Hardware Sugar and you want us to assemble it, we'll assemble it for you free of charge. Even if you buy other parts from other places, as long as you buy the majority from us, we'll do it free of charge. Although natawa lang ako sa tanong na it's like competitive ba yung Hardware Sugar? Like kasing presyo nyo ba yung ECPC or PC Hub? It's sort of like I really don't know. Di ako fixated, to be honest, sa ibang shops. Like how much they cost and stuff like that.
I'm gonna even say, even if we're more expensive, I don't know. I don't know how the other shops do it. Like, for instance, I had a problem with my keyboard before. Talagang, I won't mention na lang the shop. But talagang, it was a nightmare talaga. And, they're a branded shop. So, I guess what you're paying also for is make sure that if it breaks down, they'll be there to get your back. So...
Like us, yun. We
Yeah.
have a no BS warranty.
So, do they
Policy.
have a no BS warranty policy? Because, to be honest, our stuff is legit. But, even if legit stuff breaks down, and I'm telling you, it's talagang, all my stuff is legit because it's for my PC. But they break down. So, you need, who do you call ba? Who do you call when it's down, right? That you call us if you bought it from us. Diba? I mean...
So, as someone who doesn't own Hardware Sugar and who has bought from both PC Hub and Hardware Sugar, so in its heyday, PC Hub, when it was a small store, was really a godsend. So now let's compare current PC Hub.
Ano sinasabi mo, Marvin?
No. You wait. Let's answer his question. He's asking which is cheaper. So look. PC Hub has 4 different prices, or actually 5 different prices for a Ryzen 2600. From the regular price of 9,470 and then all the way down to a 7,999 for a Ryzen 2600. Hardware Sugar's price on its website right now for a Ryzen
R5 2600
is 7,500. So
lower pa
Hardware
than the
Sugar
lowest.
is cheaper. Yeah, lower than the And I'm the one, as someone who is willing to jump through hoops to get warranties. Like PC Hub has a lot of rules about warranties. Pristine box. So if you go to my closet, I have like 5-year-old boxes of monitors in pristine condition in the event masira sila.
You need to put them back in the box.
Yeah. But when I bought stuff from Hardware Sugar, I pretty much just dumped them under the bed. I only kept them just in case I have to transport them. But I don't have to spend the extra headache na, shit, okay ba yung box ko? Nabasa ba siya ng baha or kinain ba siya ng whatever insect? So, those are the things you have to weigh.
Tama.
That's true.
John Wick from Facebook says hello. Shout out. Actually, thank you, John Wick. He's always watching one of our
hi,
regulars.
Jan.
Yeah.
Regular commenter.
And Bitoy Conco says, thanks, Marv. Love you. See, sabi ko sa'yo yung no question na yan para sa'yo, Marv. And sige, actually, we're winding up na. We're finished now with this is the last real question from Albert Tan. And this is regarding, ano ba safe temperatures for CPU and GPU? And it was Rafael who specifically requested na we include this question.
I did some minor research that CPU temps on idle. So you need to classify into 2 What is a safe temp for idle and what is a safe temp for in use? So kung idle, wala kang masyadong ginagawa, like naka-YouTube ka lang. Idle CPU temp should be 45 to 55 degrees Celsius. And then for CPU na may load, 70 to 80 degrees Celsius. Then after that, for the graphics cards, better you just go na lang to the maximum temp specs ng graphics card. Like yung graphics card ko is 2080 Ti, max temp niya is 89 degrees Celsius. So definitely I should get it down. But to summarize, you should get a temperature meter. What I use is the NZXT Cam, which is really nice, by the way. It's I just downloaded it recently.
And Rafael has no NZXT hardware except for his case,
Yeah, my case. I don't
Yeah.
have wala akong
Any,
ilaw, walang
yeah.
fans. Corsair yung fans ko eh. So, yeah, but the NZXT Cam is really good. It shows you, wait, what am I talking about? Here, I'll show you what I got.
Share screen, share screen.
Share screen. Yeah, there. So, ano yan? It shows the CPU temp, GPU temp, all in one area. How much RAM, my storage left. Everything is here, actually.
Okay, so we have lost video, but the live stream is still ongoing. And so now, actually, you're seeing our image. Tuloy pa rin po yung live stream. It's just inayos ko sa background kung ano nangyari. So,
Handa na.
yeah.
I like this.
We are
What
prepared.
you
Been here before.
Yeah. Hayop kasi itong di ko alam paano ano nangyari dito eh. But yeah, so we can let's just continue with the questions while I get the video up and running.
So yeah. What's the next? Oh yeah, kayo guys. RJ, Marvin.
What's up?
Yung CPU and GPU temps, what's your take on that?
To be quite honest, I haven't followed what the norms are, let's say for the newer ones, for the newer models. But I would say yes, get the baseline first of what your CPU and GPU models are. Let's say I upgraded from a 2600X to 3600X from you guys. Thank you. So the stock temps are a huge jump, I think. I think coming from, let's say, more or less 30 degrees or 27 degrees idle, it went to around stock around 50, 55. So I was like, wow, that's a big jump for idle temps. But I realized that there are some tweaks that you might have to do certain times. So let's say for Ryzen 5 3600, I just underclocked the CPU a bit, so now it's running around 33 temp. So I think it will heavily depend on your build. I'm running my build in an S340 Elite, so it's an older version of like the H500, I think.
Yeah,
So
NZXT.
it's very compact. The airflow isn't as great as the newer models or iterations. So I am very mindful about my temps. So but if you have like those newer CM cases, ganda. So many fans, right, from the front. You'll have an easier time tweaking your temps. But
Yeah.
generally for GPUs naman, yes, you can check what the max temps are for your GPU. And I think they are more forgiving because yun nga, like usually naman when you buy a GPU, it comes in an aftermarket cooler. And the aftermarket coolers are night and day now compared to the ones a decade ago, diba? So we've come a long way actually in terms of cooling. So to me, stock, you shouldn't worry too much about it unless you're overclocking.
The only thing I would add is just to factor it in. So yung binigay ni Rocky, add a couple of degrees if you are not using your computer in an aircon room full time. So if you're not using an air conditioner, just be sure you have an electric fan running para lang yung heat that's building up at the back of your case has somewhere to go, so that the heat inside your case has somewhere to go then. But generally, for CPUs for processors, unless you're overclocking,
Right.
set and forget lang yun eh. GPU yung mas kailangan mong bantayan.
Yet ako, to be honest, hindi ko na nga masyado nasusundan ano ba yung temp nung rig ko, both for GPU and CPU. Basically, Well, kasi naka-open na yung case ko. Some people have seen my old rig kasi sira na yung power button. So it's temperatures are one of those things that advanced users like to obsess about. Like, oh God, kailangan sobrang ito yung pinakamalamig, and then they're gonna rearrange their fans, rearrange the rad kung naka-AIO and things like that. But for average users, and even myself, I mean, I think that maybe I'm an above average user for hardware. I don't really obsess about it too much. We have gotten a lot of customers complaining na ba't ang init ng Ryzen CPUs nila. Generally, Ryzens tend to run faster on the average. But it's also then they get it down by buying new thermal paste, say the Noctua or the Thermal Grizzly, getting a new CPU cooler like the DRP4. Or underclocking it. But yun nga, in general, I mean, these things run hot because the chips are processing a lot of information. It's a really modern, ganun na talaga yung computers ngayon. So, of course, there are optimal temperatures. But, if your PC is working well naman and it's not like, yung kay Rafael kasi, sobrang init. Talagang nung hinawakan mo yung case niya, talagang,
before. I had a problem.
Yeah.
I had a program running in the background that should not have been.
So yun talaga ang init, yung you could touch the case, talagang ramdam mo na ang init. So yun, obviously there's a problem there. But for the average user, maybe a few degrees higher than what you see sa internet, okay, that's fine. Nothing, the hardware is conditioned to run naman at medyo high temperatures. The stock coolers are fine, things like that. So again, it's one of those things that some people are really obsessive about, but for the average user, that just wants peace of mind that their PC is okay, it's usually would be okay. Last question. Oh, sorry, nope. That's the wait. Okay, sorry. Okay, here we go. So yeah, this isn't a question, but John Paulo just wanted to say thank you. Really helpful and informative, especially for beginners. I'd like to commend you for letting buyers know that we don't always have to get the greatest and fastest, which we mentioned. I think he watched the last Puwede Magtanong, where we talked about na hardware sugar doesn't hard sell. Like if you only need 550 watts, we'll tell you just get 550 watts. And we do try to be honest with everyone. And actually, this is the second to the last now, which is, natawa lang ako dito kaya sinama ko sa Puwede Magtanong. Otaku Gaijin has left 3 comments with us. The first comment is in all caps. This is for the video I did na kung bibili ka ng CPU, what do you really need to know? Otaku says, what you really need to know, all caps, when buying a CPU is kung meron ka bang pera pambili. So, super useful. Thanks for that tip. The next comment was, kulang ka bata. In today's PC, you got to have a boot drive, keyboard, monitor, mouse, speakers, and OS. As far as I know, even in the old PCs, at least when I first started, you really do need the boot drive, the keyboard, the monitor, the mouse. You don't need speakers, and you will need an OS. I think sa simula nung personal computing, like nung 1970s, may mga wala pang boot drive kasi they would read the instructions from the floppy drive. Pero sobrang tagal na nun.
Sorry, I don't. What's a boot drive?
The drive where the OS is stored. You
Okay.
boot from the drive. That's why it's a
Okay.
boot drive. And the last comment from Otaku Gaijin, kasi I mentioned in the CPU cooler video na takot we don't do custom liquid cooling in hardware sugar kasi ako personally takot ako sa we haven't leveled up to that point yet. Ako personally takot, I've never done it. Takot ako kasi too big yun eh. Once you start putting liquid into your computer and you do it wrong, the fittings, the length of the tubing, etc., that will leak and that will screw up your 100,000 peso rig or whatever it is. Pero since sabi ni Otaku, tsaka ba't ka ba matatakot? Test run mo nga eh. As if one test run and sigurado na yan for life na walang problema. After the test run, jump mo yung 24 pins na PSU. I'm not too sure. Usually you jump the motherboard, not the PSU. But I'm assuming he means plug in the 24 pins into the mobo and then jump the mobo. Ang dali lang, maganda for custom water liquid cooling. May maintenance nga lang, etc. I can't can't believed na 26.5 subs ka na sa YouTube pero amateur ka sa PC. So I just do want to say that if being honest na I don't know something, and this is really our policy, even sa panel, even sa shop, if we don't know something, we won't BSU. Di kami magmamurunong, di kami maghuhula, di kami magbabluff na, ay oo, ganito lang yan, and then ito kailangan mo, blah blah blah, even though we don't know. We're always very honest with the customers, and I've never done liquid cooling. I would be scared to do it. So if being honest with the customer is being an amateur, then yes, hands down, amateur talaga yung hardware sugar, for the record. But I do just want to update na hindi na lang 26.5 subs, naka 29,300 na po kami. So, and Otaku Gaijin is actually one of those subscribers. You'll notice dun sa screenshot niya, the little red dot means na he's a subscriber. So, thank you for subscribing, Otaku Gaijin. And thank you for your super helpful comments. Yun lang po.
Oh, actually, in relation to that, I just wanted to tell you that we lost, actually. We lost 3 sales today. Someone was going to buy, a lady was going to buy 3 RF120s.
Triple pack.
Na 3-pack.
Yeah.
So that's 9 fans. That's 9 fans. Wait, sorry. She wanted to get RF140 2-pack of 3. So that means 3 times 2 is 6. So she was gonna get 6 fans, but I told her, teka lang, what's your mobo? Kasi I need to check if you have enough fan headers. And kulang nga siya. So actually, it was I who told her, don't buy muna. So, I mean, I can't believe na it came to the point na I'm the one who's actually already troubleshooting in advance.
And telling
Kasi
the
I know
customer,
don't buy muna. Yeah. So, she didn't buy. And she said she's gonna research some more. So, there we go. And in fact, we don't even have, we used to sell, diba, extra fan headers. Yung
the
fan splitter. Splitter, right?
No, the fan
We
hub.
used to
Yeah. Sorry.
fan hub or fan splitter. Wala, we're sold out. So talaga I knew if I was gonna speak up, mawawala yung sale. And yun nga, I spoke up and we didn't get any. But she's appreciative naman. And but yun. That's how we go now. We're willing to risk not getting a sale at all talaga. Just as long as everyone gets happy in the end of the day.
Yeah,
That's
kasi amateur ka eh. Dapat kasi, kung di mo alam, inaano mo lang na, ganito lang yan, bilhin mo yan, ito kailangan mo, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, we're not that kind of shop, we're not that kind of YouTube channel. To be honest, I tell people all the time, I have no idea what you're talking about, or I have no idea how to solve your problem. Kasi, yun nga, that's why we get the panel, kasi they're more knowledgeable than us. Our tech guy also in the shop, Gerald, is very good, but he also has his limits. He's never done also liquid cooling. So, ayun. It's something we want to do someday, but I guess we do need to get experience first. Baka next time mag-upgrade si Rafael. Custom liquid water cooling natin yan.
Or si Otaku.
Huwag naman yung PC ko.
Si Otaku, yeah. And lastly, this is Lazada Messenger. It's a message on Lazada, but he says he's a subscriber on YouTube. And Leoncio says, I'm one of your subscribers. Pa-shout out naman. So, shout out to Leoncio. Thanks for subbing. Thanks for subscribing to us on YouTube. And
You should answer his question. Does it come with controller? I'm gonna say yes, right?
which comes with controller.
RF120.
It does come with a physical controller. Yeah. Yeah, so that's about it. I do want the last shout out from the chat from Rafael, the other Rafael who works for us. He's part of our programming team. Shout out din sa mga consistent na hackers natin. We have been getting hack attempts from China. The last one actually is from Mumbai or something. So,
you have fans.
Yes. Actually, ito si programmer namin, medyo may wicked sense of humor. So every time somebody from China tries to hack us, he sends back a message like 1 gigabyte worth of Tiananmen Square, yung mga text na yung mga bawal sa China, tapos dinadata dump niya back to the hacker. So sana mapansin ni CCP and then ma-pull off the street one of these days. Yeah, so that's the show for that's the show for today. I just want to plug the next schedule. October 16 next week, Puwede Magtanong comes back for episode number 5. I think it'll be our 5th episode na. Same format, same panel, and we'll try to answer your questions. October 18 Sunday is our In the Industry with Truly Immortal Esports Agency. Actually, I'm excited about this one. It's a bit different. We've gotten streamers, we've gotten casters, we've gotten gamers. Ito naman parang more like the business side. What does it mean? Do they rep the streamers? Do the streamers give them a cut? Are there contracts? So I'm super interested sort of in the back end of this. They claim sort of like to be tier 1. And tier 1 is obviously the big gorilla. Parang sila yung pinakasikat. So we'll talk to the guys from Truly Immortal. We're getting their CEO and one of their founding streamers. So that's on October 18. And then finally, the last show for October is from the shop Sunday, where we'll be at the shop and we'll just talk about like the new items that came in and like funny stories about warranty and things like that. Shout out to Nikko Logdat from YouTube. And this is my favorite online class from J-Kyle Aguilo.
J-Kyle?
J-Kyle, yes. Thanks. Take everything you learn or you hear from us with a grain of salt. Sometimes
When in doubt, i-Google mo na lang.
Yeah. Google is your everyone's friend. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe. Have a good weekend. Have a good night.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
Thank you.